wish to give us the privilege of doing a mitzvah with the first of our fruit. In this way we know that everything belongs to Him, and that man owns nothing in this world apart from what God bestows upon him in His great kindness. After one has toiled laboriously and can now see the fruits of his labor that are dear to him as the apple of his eye, and then immediately gives it to God and relinquishes his ownership and impresses upon him that everything is in the domain of his Creator. This is what Shabbos does. This is what the seventh year does. This is what giving challah does when we break bread. All these things, they are reminding us that really it's God's world. And therefore, by giving Him the first piece, we're reminding ourselves that everything else that we utilize, everything else we benefit from is really only by the permission and by the blessing of God. It's doesn't let the person get arrogantly carried away by thinking that all this is a result of his own expertise or his own power, his own strength. So let's see now what the Lubavitch Rebbe says about Maaseh. In text 12, page 50. The conventional significance of the obligation to give 10% to a Levi, as well as the obligation to give monetary Maaseh to charity. What is the teaching? Is that the land and the fullness thereof, in other words, the land and everything in it, are God's. And that everything that a Jew has belongs to God. Therefore, a Jew must first of all give a tenth of the best of his crop to a Levi, for whom it states, Hashem is his inheritance. Only then may he use the remainder for his personal needs. Now let's just think, there's an interesting difference between the concept of Maaser, giving 10%, and the concept, let's say, of giving the firstborn or the first fruits. What's the difference? When it comes to the first fruits, really, Hashem has pretty much decided which one is going to Him, the one that goes first. When it comes to firstborn, you have to give the first, you have to redeem the firstborn. So, which one we give is already pre-decided by God. Whichever one is born first belongs to God. It's not our choice. It's almost as if, let's take a look, if we wanted to have an equivalent in the concept of giving Maaseh from money. Let's say you had a vending machine. People are putting in quarters, dollars, and at the end of the day you made $100. When you separate 10%, how does it work? Is it that the first $10 that went in, you have to put them aside, they have to fall into a separate container, and that goes to charity? Or I take all the money and I take off 10%. In other words, when it comes to the firstborn animal, the firstborn animal belongs to God. If that firstborn animal gets mixed into the other animals, it's a problem. The firstborn animal is not just taking, let's say there were 12 animals born this year, 2 of them were firstborns. I need to take 2 out of, let's say there are 10 animals born, 2 were firstborns, I need to take 20%. No. I need to find those animals. Those animals were kind of by birth, they're already born to be God's. The subsequent animals belong to the person. With the money, it's not like that. As with the crops, when I take 10% of the crops, it's not like the first 10% that grows, that's God's and the rest is mine. No, I take the whole package, I take the whole amount of money, and now, whatever, I take 10% from that. So it's not, I'm taking God's, because some people may think, let's look at it like this. When I earn money, it's as if the first 10% is not even mine. It stays in God's pocket, and I only get 90%. It's not that way. The whole money belongs to me. And Hashem says, of that money, I want 10% to give to charity. Which really tells us something very, very special. It tells us that everything we have, we need to feel that it's connected to Hashem. Do you hear the subtle difference? It's not that when the firstborn animal goes to Hashem, it never belonged to me in the first place. From birth, it belongs to Hashem. At the time of the Beis HaMikdash, even today it's a problem. Today we sometimes, if somebody owns cattle, we will sell the animal to a non-Jew so that the firstborn born is not being born to a Jewish animal, Jewish-owned animal, and therefore we don't have a problem, because it's a big problem. The firstborn animal has to be offered as a sacrifice. You can't do anything with it, even today.
So how do they do that in Israel?
So they would have to sell the birthing mothers with a contract, like we sell chametz.
It's like Pesach, yeah?
It's the problem because the firstborn belongs automatically to God. So when it belongs automatically to God, that's not so much the experience of taking something that's yours and giving it to God.
Right.
It, so to speak, is born into a godly role. Mm-hmm. When I say, though, about Maaser, that all of it really belongs to me. But God said, no. The 10% of your choice, 10% exactly has to come, I'm saying, to give to the Levi. But it's yours, totally. It's not like the first 10% that grows automatically becomes holy. No. It's yours, and now you have to take what I've said as obligation. In this way, this expression of this mitzvah is much more the expression of telling ourselves and letting ourselves feel how everything in this world really belongs to Hashem and has to be motivated towards Hashem. And this leads us to another interesting discussion about, for example, holiness and not holiness. Sometimes people, I've had somebody say they feel very uncomfortable when we talk about money in the shul. For example, on the high holidays, we sell the various honors, and there is something I can understand. But there's something very important about speaking about money in the shul. I'll tell you why. As we mentioned on the Yom Tov, because some people are still believers of the notion in this country, in the local religion, monks are not allowed to touch money. Why not? Because money is dirty, and they're supposed to be holy. But for Jews, money is a way to serve Hashem. There's nothing holy or unholy about it. You can use it to do holiness, you can use it, God forbid, to do unholiness. Shul and money are not two separate things. The shul is a place we serve God, and money is a way in which Hashem wants us to serve Him. And one of the ways that we elevate all of our money is by taking part of it, which Hashem says 10% belongs to Him, and if you want to be extra careful, even 20%, and giving, separating that to Hashem, that automatically elevates all, whatever the person, the other 80 or 90% is elevated through that as well. Because you've shown that you believe that all of what you have really comes from God, and therefore, you have to put your money where your mouth is, as they say. In order to make us feel it, it's not enough to say it. You give 10%, you feel it. 10% is enough to feel, 20% for sure. Even 10%, you have $100, and all of a sudden all you have is 90, you feel it. You'll say a guy who has $1 million doesn't feel it. The truth of the matter is, most charitable people, maybe all charitable people, didn't start giving charity only when they became rich. Charitable people gave charity also when they had less. You find as a rule. That's why this rule of Ma'aser doesn't start when you have a lot or a little. It's there constantly. However much grain you grow in your field, 10%. But it's not that, so to speak, it descends from heaven as holy. No. It descends from heaven, it comes to you, it becomes yours. And then you take 10%. So let's see here in the text the different kinds of holiness. Text 13. It is a positive commandment to set aside all the male firstborn of the womb, whether amongst humans, kosher animals, and donkeys. This applies whether the animals are healthy or treifot. Thus the verse states, "Consecrate unto me all firstborn, the first issue of the womb among the children of Israel, in human and in animals. All of the above are given to the priests. The Kohanim get the firstborns, but the firstborns are born holy, so to speak." Same we have with the Bikurim. It's a positive commandment to bring the first fruits to the temple. The obligation of the first fruits applies only while the temple is standing, and only in Israel is implied by the verse, "Bring of the first ripened fruit of your land to the house of Hashem your God." So that's that mitzvah. And let's take here a look in the story here. How he has the story. See the story, page 54.
Page 54. Oh, sorry. Okay. Story. Rabbi Benjamin Kletzker, one of the greatest Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe, was a lumber merchant by trade. Once, while adding up his profits, he inadvertently wrote as his total, Ein od milvado, there is nothing other than God.
In other words, he was in the physical world, he was a merchant. But he understood that everything in this world is really a gift of God. There's really nothing besides Hashem. And even in his business, he felt that. And that's one of the achievements of giving 10%. As we say in text 17b, the Rebbe concludes, Maisa means that even one's private affairs that he does by habit needs to be saturated with godliness. As is understood from the fact that a Jew must tithe everything he owns, and even the very corporeal aspects thereof. In other words, when we do a mitzvah, let's say, we blow the shofar, we take tefillin, we light candles. So those things, because God has commanded them, in a way, those are holy things. The objects we do it with, in a sense, are holy. But money is very unholy. Nothing holy about money. So by taking that and giving the first 10% of that to Hashem, we are stating in a very, very powerful way that's not demonstrated really in any other way, that all aspects of materialism really are also have to be connected with Hashem. Hashem's presence has to be part of everything we do. Not just the actual mitzvahs, but even the life of a general mundane life. Those mundane lives, you see, in a sense, can a Jew ever have a vacation? Not in the true sense of the word. Vacation means just do nothing. No, of course not. Jew, when he goes on holiday, has to take his tefillin and put on tefillin. He can't just eat whatever he wants. It has to be kosher. So on and so forth. Because our physical life and our spiritual life are intertwined. Spirituality is not just for the synagogue. Spirituality and mitzvahs are for every aspect of our materialistic life. And that is very well expressed in the concept of Maisa. So besides, there's a concept of tzedakah. Every Jew has to at least once a year give tzedakah. But that can be fulfilled by giving 5 cents, or 10 baht. Then there's the other obligation, that a rabbinic obligation to give 10% of our earnings. And that actually has a very powerful effect on reminding us where everything really comes from. Reminding us that also all of our mundane activities also have to be motivated and directed towards Hashem. May Hashem make the blessing that we should all have plenty of wherewithal, plenty of parnasa, we should be able to give plenty of tzedakah.
Amen.
And the poor people will be very, very happy. Maybe they'll become not so poor.
Amen.